Hi, and welcome back to Just Ask the Question. I am your host, Brian Karaman. With me today, I got to tell you, I'm maybe I'll surprise him. I don't know. Raoul Peck, the director of a new documentary about George Orwell called 1984, 2 plus 2 equals 5. But before we get started, Raoul is also the director of one of my favorite documentaries. I don't know if he knows it or not, but it's I Am Not Your Negro about James Baldwin, one of my favorite authors, by the way, Raoul. So it's a real pleasure having you here today. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm gonna before I talk about George Orwell, got to talk about James Baldwin because today's news every day I call it another day in the soup when I go to the White House. But there was something, and I'm going to paraphrase. James Baldwin said, "The thing that holds it all together, our entire culture, is the love of very few people." And how was it? How was it doing that particular documentary?
It was not a wake up call, but because I felt that this have been in the making for the last 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
We don't inherit something like this administration out of nowhere. It's a result of a lot of dysfunctionment. It's a result of a lot of people not doing what they were supposed to do. So, and I don't want to put me outside of the equation, but I can say at least I tried. So, yes, I mean, Orwell is somebody that basically work on the to describe and analyze the whole toolbox of such a system and how a system like this is being put in place and how the civil society basically don't see it coming because it comes drop by drop, and if you don't do something by the first drop, it's harder the next day and it's harder the next week, etc., etc. And we can see even in a country like the United States of America, where we were all convinced that nothing would put democracy in peril, but we are saying every day something new happening that is basically driving down or killing or erasing uh, all the progress we've done in the last 60, 70 years.
Well, I maintain it started with Ronald Reagan, the dribs and drabs, and it,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
and for 40
And
years,
and and to be frank with you about the importance of this film for me, we were all convinced that we were making this film with Kamala Harris becoming president, and for us it was as urgent as it is today. Because you were talking about I am not your Negro,
yeah,
but I was in the middle of the film when President Obama was elected,
mm-hmm,
and I hesitated one day only, thinking that is the film as necessary as I thought it would be
yes,
with Obama on power, and then I got the response by Baldwin himself when he said, it's not about when, because that was his response to Robert Kennedy at the time.
yeah,
We said, maybe in 40 years you will have a Negro president. And he said, well, the question is not when we will have a Negro president. The question is of what country he will be the president of. And that's the determining fact. And
yeah.
and so we are again at a moment where we have to ask us that question.
Well, one of the things that you bring up in the documentary, and I want to congratulate you on it. It's very well done. Um, there are two things that come to mind. You actually use George Orwell's diary in your documentary, and there is one quote: "Totalitarianism demands the continuous alteration of the past, and in the long run, probably demands a disbelief in the very existence of objective truth." Now, you use this documentary is a tale of Orwell when he was writing 1984, but at the same time, you do show parallels to in today's world, and it isn't just in the United States, although thankfully, you put that in context. But at the same time, the disbelief in the very existence of objective truth, I believe, is the biggest, and that's one of the biggest problems we have in my industry today, is the destruction. And I don't say objective truth, I say objective facts. we
Yes.
we we cannot present objective facts anymore. Everything is in dispute. Did you find, when you were putting this together, that there are many, or there's more than government involved in this?
Well, of course, a big part of the structure of the society is implicated, uh, and the press as well as the gatekeeper of many other
Yes.
things. And I remember I was telling one of your colleagues this morning that I remember watching this show on CNN the first time. You know, there was one person from the left and one from the right. I
Yeah.
forgot the title of the show, but I say, oh my God, now it's about opinion against opinion. It's not about arguments. It's not about facts. It's not about numbers. You know, it's not about demonstration of accuracy. You know,
Right.
and don't forget, the whole press was in a sort of, because, and when you say the Reagan time, that's when there was something we called rationalization, which was basically cutting all the budgets everywhere.
Yeah.
So it
Well.
was about making money. How do we keep making profit? Oh yeah, we it has to be more entertaining. So every journalist had to also find a way to make his report entertaining. And little by little, it took all the room. You know,
Yes.
fact-based information was on the back burner. It was about how much dispute you can have on, online, how much, you put people that have really, frankly, not much to say confronted with people who have spent 40 years of their life working on the subject, you know?
That's yeah. Today, and I find that and I would like your opinion on that as well, because I find that in social media today, that those with 40 years of experience are, while everyone is entitled to an opinion, not every opinion is worth the same thing. But the leveling of that playing field in social media, you don't know who has the uh, the ability to speak and who's just speaking out of their tuchus. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's part of the 1984 paradigm, I think. Your thoughts?
Well, totally. And I've seen it, the degradation of it, I can say the last 40 years. And I had an ability to compare because I was watching French TV, I was watching German TV, and I could see the difference. And I can say that today German TV is probably more objective, even though they are not always objective on everything, but at least there are debates. You know, you will not be invited on German TV just because you have an opinion, and there is room to have a real discussion. You know, many times you can follow discussion on German TV where, you're not obliged to put somebody that has totally extreme thoughts about something and then somebody who is an expert and just make them fight, as
Right.
if you are in the Roman Empire, looking at the gladiators, no,
Good metaphor.
information is an important tool of democracy. Democracy means informed and educated citizen are taking care of the affair of the city. And then we let that precious tool being just a moneymaker, basically. Let's do the circus, because the more click we have, the more subscriber we have, we'll keep our profit alive, and that's not a good way to run a society. So
No.
it's scary, and we even lost, to come back to Orwell, we lost the use of our language. We lost the meanings of words. There is a phrase I like to repeat these days. It's like Orwell's the degradation of language is the condition for the degradation of democracy,
God.
and we are full in it.
Yes. Yeah, there are those who say we are facing a constitutional crisis. There are those who are saying that we are approaching a fascist state. But like you just said, I think we're full in it right now.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's
Yeah.
not a rehearsal. It's not a rehearsal. If you take any time in the history where a democratic society is becoming authoritarian, it's those are the same tools being employed. You know,
Yeah.
attack on academia, attack on the press, attack on the justice system, attack, and by the way, attacks on a very personal basis. They isolate you,
Yeah.
and they go for the kill, and
Literally.
so they create fear into everybody else, and a sort of very human reflex to say, oh my God, they got the neighbor, but they won't get me. Maybe if I let them get the neighbor, I will be safe. No, it doesn't function like this. They will come to get you at some point. you know
Yes.
and that it's like a beast that needs to be fed. And there is no limit for a beast to be fed. The beast will always be hungry. you know
That's well,
and at
there's
one
some.
time there is nobody else. And by the way, as many revolution have shown, like at one point they start eating each other.
Yeah, well, we've already seen that. There's a part in the movie where a totalitarian state is, in effect, a theocracy. It has to be thought of as infallible. The idea of an intellectual liberty is under attack in two directions. I thought this was very pointed. One side, theoretical enemies and the apologists of totalitarianism. On the other side, as you said, when we're talking about business, monopoly and bureaucracy intent on maintaining the status quo. It seems to me that Orwell understood far better than most political scientists today what it is we're facing in the United States. How did you, as a filmmaker, when you're going through this, how did that affect you to see that someone writing in the 30s, coming back from what was it, tuberculosis, or what he was in his.
Yeah, he died of tuberculosis. Yes.
So he's in
He
the.
died in 1994. Yeah,
Yeah,
99, 49. Sorry.
49, and he's in the hospital, and he's writing this in his diary. Here's a guy, isolated somewhere in Scotland, and writing this down. How did that affect you when you read that for the first time?
Well, I knew a little bit about that, but I didn't imagine that it would be so accurate to our time.
Yes.
I vaguely knew that Orwell have made an incredible analysis of his time. And I thought, frankly, there should be some adjustment about what's happening today. But in fact, he had exactly analyzed the core of the process of powers becoming authoritarians, and whether the left or the right. And not only he did that not as an intellectual exercise, but he went through it himself.
Yes.
He went through it as a 19-year-old a soldier, a policeman in Burma at the time, and Myanmar today, as basically a colonial policeman. So he was the instrument of abuse as well. He did stuff
Yes.
that he was very ashamed of and wrote about it. So he was in the belly of the beast. And then later, when he volunteered to go to the civil war in Spain, he saw the structural damage of power on both sides, on the Republican side and on the putschist side. So that was key for him. And the third station, I would say, is during the war, during the Second World War, where he was working for the BBC, and he saw the effect of propaganda, on both sides,
Yeah.
from the West and the South and the East. And it was a time where you were summoned to take position. You could not be on both sides. You could not, say, wait a minute, I don't agree with what you are saying, and I don't agree with what you are saying. You have to choose camp. And all those experiences build up his, what I would call it, is a toolbox, his analysis of what happened and how democracy lose its common sense, basically.
Yeah, and there are two other things I want to get your comment on. From the totalitarian point of view, history is something to be created, not learned. Political language makes lies sound truthful and murder respectable. How does that translate to today?
You want a list? I
Yeah,
mean, just watch the news today. You'll have your answer. But the film tried to reconstitute those examples. And we have, unfortunately, examples every day. Like pretending that something happened that did not happen, pretending that historically you win by a huge mandate, which is not
nothing.
true.
Yeah,
You take the numbers. That's the thing. 2 + 2 = 4. You can't make it 5. Because it's arithmetic.
right.
You go back to your source and you count your numbers. But constantly, you people forget this moment where somebody from the administration talk about alternative truth or alternative facts. the
Yeah,
the
so
sentence itself is dramatically impossible.
yeah,
you know
I asked
S-
that
s-
question. That was the one that got that answer. So yeah, I know
so
damn well
and
what you're
and
talking
and
about.
and we see all the usual instrument, like the instrument of propaganda, the instrument of cult of personality. you know
Right.
this is something I would never believe that would happen in the United States. Like how can North Korea, yeah, China, well, why not? But even in Putin cabinet meeting, I don't think they all have to stand up and say nice word to the great leader. I don't,
Right.
Putin would laugh to death, you know. But
I
we are seeing it in the biggest democracy, one of the biggest democracy of the world. So all those things are very disturbing. And what is disturbing for me is that people tend to see that as a joke, you know, like it will be over tomorrow, or it's an incident. But no, that's not how the system works. You know, authoritarian regime, if you open a small door and nobody say anything, the next day it's a bigger door, and the
right.
next state is the whole house. So that's how it functioned, and in history, and we have seen it again and again in many countries, and what we are living right now without any counterpower. Basically, Congress is not operate to
Right.
a point where they can do whatever they want with a Congress allotted budget. You have the
Yes.
shutdown is the real what is happening right now.
Yes.
So unless to use that and say, wait a minute, it's not a fight about what the budget is. First of all, we don't own our budget anymore. Whether Democrat and Republican. We don't have the key to the budget. We spent a lot of time discussing. We spend a lot of time deciding where it's going to go, and all that doesn't count. So basically, you have annihilated your own power. The same with the justice, the same. So it's an incredible moment where everything is happening at the same time. And by the way, following a plan that was, let's flood the zone, let's keep them
Yes.
busy,
Let's
let's
flip.
let's not give them time to think. And in times like this, what you do is to take some distance and have a much more profound analysis. Where did I see that before? What are the lessons of history? How can we respond to that? And not participate in the daily rabbit race, to raise the next breaking news, that basically you don't have even the time to think.
That brings about three questions. First, do you think we're taking the time to look at the gestalt of it, the overall picture. Two, what do you hope people get from this documentary? And three, what do you think the future of the United States will be like? Answer them in any particular order you like.
Yeah, well, let's start with the last one,
I
again,
thought you
history
might.
is
Go ahead.
uh, and also it start come from the second question, because I've been doing a lot of Q&As. I've been watching people react to the film, and they ask me the same question as well. They, first of all, they it's a shock for them because the film summarize a lot of things happening right now, and not only in the United States. And the film helped them connect the dots, and give them the real dimension of what's happening in the United States right now, because it's not just about the United States. The
Right.
consequences for the rest of the world are enormous, but that have been hidden in the background. That's not what is, on the in the news today, but it still exists. It's not because it's not in the news that it disappeared. So my response, most of all, and Orwell give the same response. At the end of 1984, he said, if there is hope, it will come from the 84% of people of Oceania. Basically, it will come to the common sense of the people. And in fact, that's how it always happened in history. If we as individual or as a collective don't bring an answer to that, they will ravage us. It's
Right.
always about resistance. It's always about start talking to your neighbor, start talking with your family, make alliance. The civil rights movement started like this. Resistance, a lot of places of resistance who start talking to each other and who build an alliance, where you had not only black people, you had Jewish people, you have white people, you had churches, all different churches, you have young people, older people, and all those people, they decided to do something against racism in the South and also in the North. And that was a powerful movement. And that have been erased, by the way, with just
Yeah.
one
Well,
decree.
one
You have
decree.
erased history as if, and that's the absurdity. You can't erase history. You can repress it, but it will come out again to
So,
bite you.
so do you think we're taking a large enough look at this particular issue? Do you think that we need to take a wider view?
No, it's the results that count. I don't see it. I don't
Yeah.
see I don't
Fair
see
enough.
where all leaders. I don't see where is the black community. I don't see where are a lot of communities, because people think that when they are going after Latinos in the street or brown people in the streets, they don't go yet after black people. But you think it will not come?
Well,
You
they're
think you're
already
not
doing it.
next?
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a time in this country you were
You
going
got
after
people
Irish
rappelling out of
people.
black. You have people rappelling out of Black Hawk helicopters, yanking people out of their apartments in
No,
Chicago. In
exactly.
L.A., they're well, in Portland, they're talking about it being a war torn, almost as if. And I've been to war zones. Portland, Oregon. I've not seen anything more dangerous there than what I'd see at a high school football game on a Friday night. So
And you
it's
know what?
already happening.
Yeah, and you know what that means? It's your created provocations that will create reaction for from some people who are just waiting for that, and then you will have a bigger excuse to even bring more troops. That's a system that the Nazis did not do anything different. They were looking for an excuse to the Reichstag was burned down, and they accused one young man, and then that was enough to start, we're going to have more security measure, and we're going to topple the parliament, etc. They did the same thing for the Crystal Night.
Yeah.
It was an incident, and that was the excuse to start closing down every Jewish store. So we should learn from those historical facts, and we are just borderline of finding one last excuse to say, you know what, let's put military forces everywhere.
Well,
Those are
there's
tests.
yeah,
The power tests us every day, and if we swallow it, you say, okay, we can do the next step.
right.
That's what history teaches us. It's always step by step.
So do
And
you have
the
hope? Do you have any
well,
hope?
I can't deal with hope. It's not about hope. Hope is a privilege. To have hope is, I'm, you know, when I see what's happening in Haiti right now, we are in the capital surrounded by gangs. I talk to my friends every night, and I can't tell them about hope. I have to find concrete way to help them to survive another night. So in Congo is the same. I have friends
Yeah,
there. I have friends in Israel. I have friends in Gaza. None of them
me
talk
too.
about hope. It's about what do we do? What is our response today? How do we survive another day? How do we create discussion, etc.? So here we are late on that. We are still just sitting as spectators, and thinking or hoping, like you say, that something will happen. It never. That's not how the world run.
Yeah,
It's what do you
God
put
bless
in
you for
front to
saying
them.
that. You're the first. Every time I ask that question, somebody goes, "I sit back and I have hope for the future." I'm going, "Well, what are you doing about
Yeah, yeah.
it?"
Who's going to do the job? You
Yeah,
know.
who's going to do the
I
damn
mean,
job?
you
Everybody
know.
asks me, "What do I do?" I go, "Get off your ass. Get
Yeah.
involved."
And there are multiple of association. There are people from the civil society. Some of them have been working for 40, 60. They are great organization. Join one and see if the discussion there appeal to you. And if not, go another one. But build coalition, talk to each other. We are supposed to be a community. We not, that language from can you imagine from a head of state, which is
Yes.
a language of vengeance, a language of separation, a language of seeing you are good, you are bad, I'm going to go after you. That's not your role. When you're elected for every citizen of this country, every one of them. And by the way, you're supposed to be even better to defend the weakest one, the one who are being attacked. You're not supposed to be the main bully in the
Right.
republic.
Well, it
That's
makes
not your job. That's not what the constitution said. Once you are elected, there have been elections. There, people did not agree on everything, but you are elected. Now do your job for every American and every resident in this country. That's your job. Everything
yeah.
else, that means you don't know your job.
Well, what he doesn't know could fill volumes. I often tell people that
You
my
say that,
yeah, hey, I'm just saying it from being in the same room with a guy. He's a moron. But and I've actually asked him that question.
yeah,
Did you pass a couple of these civic tests? Well, we don't even have civics taught anymore. But I often say that the thing I would like to do if I'm staying in my lane is bust up the media monopolies so that there's more independent voices, so that there's better reporting. There's briefly, there are twice the number of people on this planet as on the day that I was born, a quarter of the number of reporters. 45% of the counties in this country don't have local news. And in those counties, 91% of those were taken by Trump in the last election. We don't have but five and soon to be only four companies that own or operate 90 to 95% of what you see, read, or hear. My recommendation: bust up the media monopolies. It's one of the things that George Orwell talks about. It's one of the things you
yeah.
talk about in your movie. Your thoughts about other steps that need to be taken to solve the problem. You say get involved. I'm with you. What should we be doing?
Well, talk to each other and try to join any organization of your liking. There are multiples, and they need support, they need help, they need people. That's the story. That's how we made history. We always make history like this. We start talking to each other. We start agreeing on an agenda. We start agreeing on the diagnostic, what is going wrong. And if you don't agree, you try to find solution. uh, you know each one of us alone cannot just impose whatever we think. No, that's not how democracy works. Democracy started with discussion. That's why I have this long scene in the film where you see, Spanish workers, peasant, discussing, what is
Yes.
their next step. And it's a very complicated discussion, because it's not easy to suddenly confront what you've been thinking with the position of the other one, and you have to find a way to harmonize that discussion and come to a decision, and that is what we call democracy, and we cannot tweet our way out of this. We need to meet eye to eye, and whether you are a Trump voter, or I'm sure a great number of Trump voters don't agree with what's going on, and a lot of people are totally misguided because they don't get the kind of information they should get, and most of the information are totally biased or totally wrong or totally untruthful, and you are being fed by the algorithm to do that. So I can imagine how people are totally disoriented, and when you are like this, it's easier to find an enemy. It's
Yeah.
easier to be able to point at, oh, I feel that insecure, I feel that anger because of this person. Okay, let me go after it. I don't care if they are being arrested. I don't care if they are being thrown in jail or out of the country, because I think I will feel better once that is done. When the wall is built, I will feel better. My problem with my social security will be solved. My problem with my insurance will be solved. My problem with my job will be solved. And we know that it's not true.
Final thoughts, and I want to thank you for being here today. When people watch your film, what is the overall, what message do you want them to take away from it more than any other?
Well, let's say if I have to choose something, I would say a wake-up call. It's a warning. It's a warning to see that two and two equal four, and that people are trying to make you feel that it's five. That's the main thing. It's a simple arithmetic formula. Two plus two will always be four. So, what are you going to do about it?
God bless you for making the statement. I want to thank you, Raoul, for being here today. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I put together a documentary on the first 100 days of Trump. You and I used some of the same footage from the January 6th event. I was there. And to your point, I cannot tell you the number of people who have come up and told me that that was a peaceful demonstration and that people were making it up. And I was there. I witnessed it with my own eyes. I had my life threatened that day. And just to watch what you put on film gave me a little bit of hope. I'm as
Oh,
involved as I can be, but it did give me a little bit of hope that maybe somebody else saw what I saw. So to that end, I really do appreciate it. Love to have you back, and I wish you all the
thank
luck in the
you.
world. Where is it now? You are. It has premiered limited premiere in New York City, and I
And
think
LA, and we're gonna open in 45 cities in the US, and then we'll see how it goes. But that's, we opened yesterday in New York, and we're gonna open on Friday the 10th in LA and other cities.
well, thanks once again. I hope and people can catch it where at theaters. Have them look it
Yes,
up. What a
at
concept!
theaters. And it's important to see it together in a theater. The film was made for the theatrical release, and it's important to feel other people in the room and how people react to that, and to feel that you're not alone.
God bless you. The name I want to thank you again, Raoul. My name is Brian Karam. This is Just Ask the Question. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and we will catch you next time. Hold on while
Thank you.
it'll happen.